Welcome back to part 2 of chapter 2. We were talking about polarity and duality. The goddess and the god, or the lord and the lady, as some Wiccans will call them, are exactly equal energies while opposing each other. They are not in conflict with each other. They are in perfect balance. And every single human being, between the balance of the masculine and the feminine, every person falls on the spectrum between the two. And all people that fall on that spectrum between the two are welcome and accepted. So a little bit more specific on the goddess herself. The goddess is the feminine aspect of the divine. She's known as the great goddess, the earth mother, Mother Earth, the universal mother, the great mother, the lady, and many other names. She's been worshipped by many cultures throughout time. We're going to speak about the maid, the mother, and the crone. So that's actually what this is here, is the maid, the mother, and the crone. It's the different phases of the moon. So in many traditions of Wicca, the goddess is closely associated with the moon. She's often often viewed as having 3 aspects that correspond with the phases of the moon. So for example, the maiden, which is the waxing moon, it represents independence and youth. She's the virgin goddess. She's often identified with a woman's wild nature, as shown as a forest goddess in the company of animals, for example. Now, the mother, or the full moon, represents giving birth, not only to children, but to ideas, insight, projects, and also nurturing, sexuality, sensuality, and creativity. Not all women were able to have children or create children. They are still of value because they create teachings for other people. They bring insight, they bring ideas. That's what it's important for. And then the crone, or the waning moon, symbolizes age, maturity, wisdom, and the command for respect. So over the course of the 8 primary Wiccan holidays, the goddess shifts in her aspects from maid to mother to crone, and then back to maiden. She gives birth to the divine god child, nurtures him to adulthood, unites with him, and becomes pregnant, and rebirths him to begin the seasons again and turn the wheel of the year. Now, I know that sounds kind of creepy, but it's not. It's all about energy. It's not about incest. So for example, in the winter, the divine goddess gives birth to the divine god, hence where Christmas came from. The god would be born in the spring, and all of the earth would rise in the spring, and the god would grow, and the goddess would nurture him to adulthood, unite with him, becomes pregnant again in the winter, and the whole cycle starts all over again. So why is this important for women? Many researchers are saying that the reason that Wicca is growing so fast is because it offers a powerful spiritual alternative to women. Unlike most religions, within a Wiccan circle, a woman can honor and worship the feminine divine. The importance of that fact cannot be overestimated. In the doctrines of many religions, women are at best considered inferior to men and subject to their control. At worst, women are viewed as the source of sin in the world. This religious conditioning profoundly damages the psyches of women. Within Wicca, women are equal. They're not the other. Women have authority and autonomy equal to men. When women experience their own holiness and when they have the opportunity to direct their own spirituality, their lives can be transformed. Did you know that no other language has a word for the word sin? Christianity created the word sin. And they did that to be able to guilt people into following certain rules. We don't believe in sin. We believe in karma. We don't have an external source telling us that we should do the right thing. We have our own karma that tells us we should do the right thing. We hold ourselves accountable for our own actions. There's no greater being out there telling us that we have to do a certain thing. Our goddess does not tell us we should act a certain way or do a certain thing. She asks us to embrace everyone and love everyone and include everyone. And the minute anyone in Wicca tries to tell you how you should practice or what you should believe, they're false. If they're telling you that buying their spell book or buying their rune is going to get you blessings beyond blessings, it's a ruse. They're trying to grift you. Wicca is about appreciating women in the same capacity as men, as equal. Not greater than, not less than, equal. And just a side note, in this book, they now reference the book for the Spiral Dance, which is actually one of the greatest books I've ever read, Starhawk's Spiral Dance. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the belief system, this is definitely one that you can read because they actually reference it in the book. We can do a reading on that one too later if people are interested. So we've explained the goddess, let's explain the god. In many Wiccan groups and books, the god is given less page count or time than the goddess. In American culture, most people are familiar and even conditioned to view deity as male. The divine feminine is a more difficult concept for many people to get their minds around, so we devote more of this chapter to explaining the idea. So we don't focus a lot on the God because he's equal to the feminine divine. So we don't need to talk about one more than the other. We tend to focus on the goddess because all other religions tend to focus on the god, right? So that's why we focus when we talk about Wicca. We speak about it in a feminist movement, but that doesn't mean we think men are any less. It just means we talk about it less because they're focused on in so many other religions. Or should I say belief systems, because Wicca is not a religion. So the god is the male aspect of the divine. He often is represented as the sun, and sometimes he's associated with forests and wild animals, hence the devil horns or the goat horns. It has nothing to do with the devil. Goat horns are simply nature. It's just animals in nature. He's been worshipped by many cultures throughout time. For example, the sun god Ra, the god Zeus, the Christian god. They're all based on the same aspect, the same masculine aspect. He's been worshipped by many cultures throughout time. In most traditions of Wicca, the god is considered equal to the goddess. The majority of Wiccan groups, traditions, and covens consider men and women to be equal. So yes, men can be witches as well. And don't come at me with the whole witch versus warlock thing. That's another whole conversation. So the god can be three-formed as the hunter, the warrior, and the sage. In some beliefs, it's his travels to the underworld to free his true love that caused the shift in the seasons. While some Wiccans believe that the god, like the goddess, has always existed, some see the god as having originated from or been born from the goddess. He's often viewed as her consort. Many times we will say the goddess and her consort. So now we're going to talk about multiple deities. So many Wiccans honor or worship multiple deities. These beings may be different aspects or parts of the one divine, or they may be separate entities altogether. They could be supernatural beings, native spirits, or something else. They may or may not have human characteristics. You may hear them called the old ones, the mighty ones, or the ancient ones. Some Wiccans honor and worship the goddess and or god and feel no pressure to choose a named deity or deities. You don't have to pick a god. Like, there's lots of them. Other Wiccans feel very strongly that people should choose one or more named goddesses or gods to honor, worship, or interact with. For example, you may be familiar with the goddess Diana or the god Pan. Some traditions of Wicca have specific named deities that they honor or serve, but everyone is entitled to celebrate in their own way. I believe there are many gods and goddesses. The reason I believe that is because I believe the collective consciousness exists to move us all forward. As you move forward through your life lessons and you learn them lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, you become a part of this collective consciousness and you become a spirit guide for the next generation. When that happens and you've learned all of your life lessons, you now become a part of the collective consciousness where you now try to get your message back to the ones who are left behind, hence through the spirit world, through tarot, through messaging, etc., etc. And I believe many stories about gods or goddesses are from stories of people who had extraordinary capabilities. These were people that oftentimes had autism and were able to study weather patterns, growth patterns in the soil and the plants. They were able to study trees and the way things move. They were able to study the moons and the tides and the sun and the stars. People with autism have an amazing ability to catch little consistencies that go on that the average person may not notice, and they were able to predict things. And so they persecuted them because they thought they were performing witchcraft, when in fact it was because they were just extremely smart. So I believe a lot of the past gods and goddesses were just the people that had evolved and became part of society, and people identified them as gods or goddesses, but they were simply enlightened people. And then all religious storylines came from the existence of these kinds of people. Some people believe there's many gods that are independent. Some people believe all the gods are connected into one. Sometimes Wiccans choose to feel called by a goddess or god from an old pagan pantheon for whom they feel affinity. Others choose or feel called by deities of a particular cultural ancestry, for example, Celtic, and they work with several different deities from that pantheon. Guess I'm gonna have to do a part 3 to chapter 2.